Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Today we're here to discuss what teams have the best winning percentage in the last 4 years. So from 2013 to 2017, the last 4 seasons. Now I didn't put this data together myself. It was our friend Brad from Newfoundland. So Brad, thank you.
Did a great job, Brad.
Amazing job. You continue to amaze us with your analytical talents here. So what we're going to do is actually go through all 30 teams, starting with the team that has the worst winning percentage, all the way to the team that has the best winning percentage. And I think some of these positions are going to shock some people.
I was surprised when I saw Brad's list.
Yeah.
And of course, this is the last 4 years. There's a few teams in the lower part that we're going to get to very soon because we're going to start at the bottom, that we have recollection from last year as being quite good teams.
Yeah.
But the previous 3 years dragged them down on this ranking.
Exactly. So. And there's one team who had one bad year, but they're actually rated pretty high in this list. I think it was low teens. But so this is just seasonal winning percentage. Has nothing to do with playoffs. It's just the last 4 seasons in the NHL.
Yeah.
So here we go. I'm going to start off with number 30, and that's the Buffalo Sabres. They've got a 34.36% winning chance. So that's at the bottom of the list. That's not good enough at all.
And not a surprise. And they're not one of the teams who did have one good year in that 4. They were bad all 4 of those
unfortunately,
years.
Yeah,
unfortunately. And they can only, the good news is, they probably can't get any worse.
No, they can't. Well, now there's 31 teams, so they could drop to 31.
There you go, yeah. All right. Next is Arizona. The Coyotes have a 37.6 winning percentage, and they're in 29th place.
So a 3% jump, basically, from Buffalo.
Yep, and again, not a surprise.
Not a surprise, yeah. Hopefully, I assume they've made some off-season changes, so it should be maybe jump up a few spots next year, maybe. Yeah. But number 28 is New Jersey Devils at 40.27%. This one shocked me a little bit. Devils haven't been great the past couple of years, but I haven't really pictured them being at basically the bottom of the NHL. It shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, me too. Carolina's next, the 27th place, the Hurricanes, 41.11%, so not a whole lot better than New Jersey. Still, an underperforming team for sure in the last 4 years. And again, you've talked about Carolina in the last few months. They're looking good for next
Carolina
fall.
is trending upwards. They'll move up this list for sure. As well as the next team on the list, number 26, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're at 42.08%. I suspect if we did this 4 years from now, Toronto might be in the top 10.
I would say. Yeah.
It's very possible.
Based on last year, if the next few years are any indication, or last year is any indication what might happen in the next few years, yeah, Toronto is definitely trending up. They're in, 5th to last here?
Yeah.
And that's probably because of 3 really bad years, and then they watered down what was last year a very good year.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. The Edmonton Oilers are next, another team, similar boat as Toronto. Underperformed for the first 3 years of this 4-year period, but did really well last year. They're at 42.17%.
So almost identical winning percentage as Toronto, so very similar teams here as far as statistics. Number 24, another Canadian team, the Vancouver Canucks, at 44.08%.
Yeah, no surprise.
Another one of those teams who've kind of been, they had so many good years in a row, and then should hit the bed. Or should hit the fan, I guess.
Yeah, as we will say sometimes in some parts of the Maritimes, the arse went out of her.
Yeah, the arse went out of her, yeah.
23rd, Florida Panthers, 44.46%. And it's funny because here we are doing statistics, and Florida is probably the most statistically based team in the league.
Yes, I was literally just thinking that, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, we'll see if they're new numbers people, they're Moneyball people, or Money Puck maybe.
Yeah, they're all about the analytics, and that's one of the reasons why they fired...
Gallant?
Yeah, Gerard Gallant. Yeah. He wasn't playing ball with their...
Yeah, he was a very good coach, but he wasn't buying into the kooky system.
Number 22, the Colorado Avalanche, and they're at a 46.85%. Probably a lot higher than most people thought, considering what happened last year.
Absolutely. I really thought they would be near the bottom.
Yeah, they had that one good year where I think they finished top of their division 2 years ago. 2 years later, last year, or this season just passed, they're at the bottom of so 2 drastically different seasons there.
Yeah,
so
really. Winnipeg's next higher at 21st place with 47.02%.
There's not a lot of Canadian teams in this bottom half of this list.
Yes, and that has to change.
Number 20, the Philadelphia Flyers at 47.88%. So only Less than 1% ahead of Winnipeg there, so pretty close. Flyers have had some really good years and then some really poor years. Kind of an inconsistent team, unfortunately, but they could surprise us next year and have a phenomenal year. So.
They could. Calgary's next, 48.61%. This is a team that probably performed better in the regular season and gave some people false hope, I guess, for the playoff performance, which didn't pan out. But Calgary is a team that I think, if they get the right ingredients, they can do some damage too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Number 18 on the list is the Ottawa Senators at 49.05%. If Ottawa can do next year what they did in this year's playoffs, you'll see them skyrocket up this list, I would assume. But even if they don't, I still see Ottawa probably trending up this list regardless.
I do too, because they will have probably better regular seasons. Few people predict they'll go as deep as they did, in this past year's playoff run. Everything's possible, especially in a league with such parity like we have.
Yep.
The Detroit Red Wings are next. The last team with a less than 50% average, 49.15%. And they're in 17th.
And I'm not sure how they're going to be trending over the next 4 years. There's lots of questions in Detroit. The salary cap is becoming a bit of an issue there. You have some veterans moving out, some young guys coming in. So it's a new rink. Lots of big changes in Detroit right now.
I'm encouraged what I see about Detroit.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're young players. I think it's going to go well. I think the new rink's going to be a hit, and I think the team's going to be a hit.
I hope so.
Number
16, the New York Islanders, and they're the first team above 50% at 50.92%. If John Tavares has anything to say about it, they'll be moving up this list if he stays.
For this year, anyway.
But that's probably about where I'd put the Islanders. They've been kind of in that middle ground pack for the past couple of years, so not surprised by that.
Yeah. Next is Dallas, 15th. They're right halfway down this list, or halfway up the list, depending on whether you're a pessimist or an optimist. Dallas, 51.26%. And I think, last year was an anomaly. Dallas has been a little bit better. In fact, just the year before that, I think they finished first.
Yeah, they made it to the second round, I think.
And made it to the second round of the playoffs. So, last year was a bit of an anomaly, and you have followed Dallas very closely.
Yes.
In the toings and froings going on with in the front office or boardroom, and you have good hope for Dallas.
Very good hope. It should be a pretty good season for Dallas next year.
Yep.
Number 14, the Nashville Predators at 51.62%. Might shock people again since they did so well this year. Like how's Nashville only in 14th? They should be higher, but this is another one of those teams that's just started to trend up. So you should see them rise this list a little bit. Things look bright for Nashville.
Yeah.
So.
Any team that really did poorly 4 years ago, that year will drop off the 4-year ranking for next year if Brad were to do this again. So we'll see. It'd be fun to do a comparison. If we're still around in a year's time, it'll be fun to do a comparison.
Exactly.
See who went where. Next, Columbus, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think this is roughly where I thought they would be. Top half, little bottom, I guess the bottom end of the top half. And they're at 13th place with 52.24%.
See, this surprised me a little bit. I thought they'd be lower. I figured that they'd be maybe 18, 19, something like that. But number 12, the Montreal Canadiens at 52.98%. I believe the highest rated Canadian team on this list. Yep. What can you say? We're overly critical about Montreal because we're Canadiens fans. But I don't know what to say without being extremely offensive to the Canadians. So, I don't know.
Well, I think it's a disappointment that they're there, but 12th place overall means that probably for most of the last 4 years they were in a playoff spot, which they were, and they're high enough to have a run, which they did have, several years ago. So, but the only good news about this is all of these numbers tell you what's happened, not what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all analytics are, basically.
Yeah. So now, I'm sorry, it's my turn. I did a lot of talking there, I shouldn't have. Minnesota Wild are in 11th place with 53.15%, and that's roughly where I thought they'd be.
Yeah, it's about exactly where I thought they'd be as well.
Yeah.
Another team that could probably trend up a little bit in this list. Number 10, the Los Angeles Kings at 53.56%. If this season that just passed was any indication, they could be moving down this list. They didn't really have a great season. They couldn't score. And people tried to blame that Quick was injured. Budai came in and he played outstanding. Their faults this year were not due to goaltending. It was due to scoring. They couldn't score. So hopefully, Kings fans see this them trend up this list, but I have a feeling they're going to trend down.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
Next is Boston in 9th place. I'm surprised they're as high as they are.
I am too, actually.
I'm quite shocked. I thought Boston would be around 14th, 13th. Not bad, but not great. But top 10?
Yeah.
And they are 54% even.
Not bad.
Who knew?
Yeah. Number 8, the Tampa Bay Lightning at 54.79%. Not a real shock here. Last year, obviously, was the anomaly. They underperformed, much like Dallas, I think. And if the 3 years prior to that was any sample of work, next year we should see a pretty deadly Tampa Bay Lightning team.
I think so.
So they'll probably stay around this position next year or maybe increase.
Yep, I agree. San Jose Sharks are in 7th from the top at 56.26%.
That's about where I'd see them. They've been pretty competitive for the past basically 7 years since 2010. So it's good to see them. My second favorite team in 7th.
Yeah.
Number 6, the Anaheim Ducks, another California team, at 58.22%. I don't know if this is actually a statistic or if someone told me this, but I think for like the past 5 or 6 years, a California team came first in the Pacific Division every year in a row. Something like that.
There are 3 teams in California.
Yeah, and there's 4 teams outside of.
Yeah,
I think. But still. It just proves that how well the California teams are doing.
Yeah.
All 3.
Well, it does, and
Anaheim's a perfect example of that. That's why they're in 6th.
Yeah.
And that's why they made it to the conference finals this year.
And they did. Pittsburgh Penguins are next, highest at 5th. They're at 58.37%. Very good record.
Not a surprise here. I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins have been phenomenal the last 4 years. So, number 4, the Washington Capitals at 58.98%. Probably not a surprise here either. I might have even thought that they might be a little higher.
I
They've
agree.
done so well in the season these past 6 years.
They are President's Trophy. Betting on them for the President's Trophy is usually a safe bet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, not surprised to see them.
Yeah. New York Rangers. I thought this was a little high, but good for them. 58.98%. They're in 3rd place overall.
I would have thought they might be down around 5.
Yeah.
I didn't think they'd be in the top 3. That's for sure.
I didn't think so either.
Good to see them there.
Yeah.
Number 2, the Chicago Blackhawks. Probably not a surprise as well. A powerhouse team the last 7 years. 59.57% for them.
Mm-hmm. And the top team, the only team over 60%, and the only team we haven't discussed yet. If you're keeping track, you probably know what it is, but I'm surprised. I'm very surprised.
St. Louis Blues.
60.37%.
Well done, St. Louis. I mean, they've always been a pretty good seasonal team, and I knew that in the back of my mind the last 4 years, and even the last 7 years, really, but I didn't think they'd be first on this list.
I'm totally blown away.
I probably would have put them 6th, 7th.
Yep. Top 5 at the most.
But statistically,
there they are.
Number 1, St. Louis Blues. So that's pretty great, even though that they are the Washington Capitals of the West and haven't done anything in the playoffs beyond the conference finals, I think.
And the numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie.
And unless Brad has a broken computer, which I highly doubt, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
There you go. Great stats.
Great stats. Thanks again, Brad, for doing that. We really appreciate it. We just thought we'd share his hard work with everyone, and because this is interesting stuff.
It really is.
I know some people are against these analytic things, but even looking back and stuff, you find some interesting stuff, like the St. Louis, like the Colorado, and the Toronto, and just throughout this list, there's interesting things. So it's fun to go through.
It is. And the other takeaway I have from this, like St. Louis barely cracked 60%, but you go down to the team that cracked 50%, which is the New York Islanders. So you've got half of the league in a 10-point spread.
Yeah.
And that shows the parity.
Exactly.
It shows the difficulty in trying to become a dynasty team because the contracts, the cap, all those things are geared in such a way that there is a lot of equity in the league, which prevents the growing of dynasties, which is, from a dynasty guy like myself,
an old fella.
I pine for the good old days, but there you go. It gives everyone something to hope for.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you see teams on here who've won the Stanley Cup recently, like Boston. They're down in 9th. Mm-hmm. Top 10, still pretty good, but they've won a cup in the last 6-7 years in 2011. So any team, I would say, really has a chance. Look what Nashville did. last year.
Amazing.
They came in 8th in the season and went all the way to Stanley Cup playoffs. And that actually segues into another video we have coming up, and we're talking about the greatest underdog teams since 1997. So
nice.
A little hint there. Nashville's on that list if you can remember what happened a couple months ago in the playoffs.
Okay.
But we're going to film that actually in a few minutes. But for you, it'll probably be a few days or maybe in a week. But look out for that. So Brad has put together those statistics as well. And it's a few other statistical videos. So we're going to be filming those and trying to appeal to the broader audience of the YouTube fan base. So, I mean, people like logos, people like serious hockey talk, and people like analytics, stuff like this. So it's good to have a variety of stuff on the channel for people to come visit, explore, and hopefully find something they like. And hopefully you did find something you like in this video. And if you did, hit that like button. If you're new to this channel, I hope you hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in a future video. Adios.